everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Peach and Wine podcast. Today's episode is going to be something very important to us. It's a topic that we've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and which will be developed more as we continue the podcast. And it's just basically to bring awareness and to make people have a better understanding. And the subject today will be mental health. And when we talk about mental health, it's not going to be specific for now. It's just going to be a general standpoint and try to give you a little bit of our insight, try to explain what mental health is, and try to give you some not advice but some ways to recognize when someone is struggling with mental health, or what how you can actually help if possible. And yeah, without further ado, we're gonna have Peach give us her definition of mental health.
Yay, I'll try. So, first, I want you guys to take a minute and actually think about what wine said. Is it something that you guys actually ever thought about? Um, have you ever thought about mental health or your mental health itself? Is it something that you actually think we should talk about? So, as wine said, the reason of the podcast it's for just to give people some insight that it's very important to just to be aware of it. Actually being aware of it, it's the most for now. For me, mental health is, I'm not going to come up with the best definition for sure, but um for me mental health is just as it said, it's just a part of being healthy, but in the mental part. And then, when we talk about mental, we talk about having a positive attitude, trying to be aware of depression, so and so on and forth. There's so many things that come up with having a um positive and healthy mindset. So for me that's what mental health is. Just trying your best and keeping a positive mindset. The same way we're trying to keep our body healthy, our physical body healthy, you're trying to keep the mental part of your body healthy. And then I hope my definition is gonna be satisfying, guys. Bear with me. Bear with me.
Okay. So just to add on to what Peach just said, basically mental health is anything related to your mental, to your well-being inside. Mental health, when we talk about mental health, I want to specify that we're not only talking about people living in mental institutions, or people living with high anxieties or high depressions. When we talk about mental health, we're talking about every single level of mental health, because we have to address this, because a lot of people, because before talking about this subject, we had a few, we're not going to call it interviews, but we kind of spoke to a lot of people around us to ask them where was their mind when it comes to
Mental
mental
health.
health. And shockingly, we came to the conclusion that a lot of people didn't really know what mental health was.
Hmm.
For them, mental health was to be quote unquote crazy, or to be let's say diagnosed with like
True.
personality disorder
Disorder.
or stuff like that. But this is not just mental health, is not just that. You
Hmm.
can be just a regular person and suffer from depression,
Yeah.
suffer from anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
suffer from loss. Like people have to we have to mention that even when you go to grieve, this affects your mental health. Everything can affect your mental health, like not having a good day, having someone say something that got you that set you off or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is not just being crazy.
Yeah.
It's also something that you experience on a
And
daily basis. Everything that is related to your emotions and to your mental well-being
mm-hmm.
is qualified as a mental problem.
Yeah.
So
And
we wanted to specify that.
true. I don't want to cut you off, Wine, but as you said before, I actually had the conversation with some of my friends too, and with the same purpose, just to have more insight about like what they think about mental health. And their answers for me was intriguing in a way because I think people are confusing being mentally ill and mental health because it's two different things. Being mentally ill, it's you are healed, but it's your mental that is healed. In the same way that in the same way that you can be physically healed. So people are just for me they're confusing it. Mental health and being mentally like a person who's mentally healed. And it has if I can put it that way, being mentally healed has his it has its level too. But again, as Wine just mentioned, you can your mental can be touched in a way it depends on whatever happened to your personal life or your life in general at work, walking. I mean anything can affect your mental health. Your mental. I don't want to keep saying mental health because I don't want people to get confused because mental is one thing. It's the word itself. It's the for me I take it as the mind, the brain, if I can put it that way. But it's not just the brain, you know. It's one said your emotions and I would even say your personality too, how you think, how you are around people. So anything that's not physical, that's how I put it. It's related to mental. So let's just not be confused about mental illness and mental health because it's two different things. Because the answers I was getting regarding mental health is just like, oh, why am I going to think about that? You should talk to the ones that are super, super into it. Like, I'm like, okay, what are you talking about? But anyway, it was intriguing, but that's the reason why we're doing the podcast too. You know?
So yeah, basically, after we went ahead and spoke to a lot of people around us, we realized, like I said, that many people didn't know what mental health was,
Mm-hmm.
and which led to us deciding to create this episode and to go on kind of personal experience. I know how it is for people not to believe in mental health because sometimes you just experience things like you have fits of rage, you're always stressed out, you have a lot of anxieties, you don't know what's going on, and most of the time you just believe that something is wrong with you and you don't even pay attention to that. Like I'll say, for example, teenagers, they go to this phase where it's like pretty complicated for them to understand the world around them, and especially because the world is changing from being a kid to being like an almost adult. So
An
it is
adult.
not always
Mm-hmm.
easy for them to understand what's going on, and when they're not introduced to mental health, it gets harder for them because they cannot
Mm-hmm.
put a name to their emotions. They cannot pinpoint what's going on. They cannot understand what is going through their minds, because for them it's just, not even for them, for like society, is just children acting up. Or sometimes it's not just kids acting up,
That
sometimes
is
it's
true.
something greater than themselves. It's
Mhm.
something that they can't even understand what's going on, and there's nobody to help them out. Because I have to mention too that when I ask people about mental health, for them, it was like I was trying to ask them to give an excuse for people's behavior. That's not
Mm.
what we're trying to say. That's not what we're trying to teach, or that's not what we're trying to explain.
Mhm. That makes sense too.
When, yeah, when we talk about mental health, we're not telling people that if someone is acting up, it's a result of a mental problem. It might
Mhm.
be. Most of the time it is, but some of the time it's just like the person acting up.
Yeah.
So, which is why we wanted to talk about it, to like give you some insight on
Mhm.
how that can actually manifest in some people's life.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe share personal experiences that probably someone is going to relate to. We don't know.
Mhm.
But for starter, coming from an African country, African family, we do not have this what you call it? We don't have this culture of mental, like being aware of your mental
Mhm.
state or your mental health. It doesn't matter over there. We don't care. It's like you're the kid, you have your parents, the parents lead, and that's it. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care about hurting or anything. So, growing up in that type of environment when I was a child, it was pretty easy because as a kid, you don't really realize what's going on around you. You just
Mhm.
like enjoy yourself, enjoy every bit of life. And when you start growing up, I explained that when we were talking about love and loyalty with my sister, when I started growing up and when I got to the age of 11 and I got to have my first sibling, it was something really hard for me to process. I mean, if you haven't listened the episode, I will probably suggest you to do so. And it was really rough for me to like transition from being an only child to have a sibling. And it was poorly handled by my parents, which led me to have a lot of issues growing up. I had a lot of issues. I mean, it was bad as like a point where when I was a teenager, I was literally thinking about suicide. And a lot of people don't know that, I was the type of person who used to judge people who commit suicide until I was in that position and realized that it is something that you cannot get over. Like, someone cannot
Mhm.
talk to you into not killing yourself. Only you can do that. And I'm
Mhm.
going to explain to you why. There is that thing called loneliness. There is a difference between being, let's say, alone. There's a difference between being alone and feel the loneliness. You can have 1,000 people around you. You can have your family love, your friends love. You can have a husband, a wife, kids. But when you feel lonely, there is nothing that nobody can do that's going to make you come out of this hole unless you work on yourself to understand that people around you actually care about you,
Mhm.
actually want you to be alive, actually want you to grow as a person. Because when you're in that mindset where you feel like there is nobody, like if you disappear from this world today, no one is going to miss you. You're not, anyway, you're not even impacting this world, so it's not going to change anything. When you are at that level in your life, there is nothing that nobody's going to tell you that's going to make you think that, oh, actually, maybe I'm wrong. Because you might do that. You might speak to a psychologist and speak to your family about it, speak to your friends about it. They're going to tell you what they can. They're going to make you feel better. They're going to try to do their best to make you understand that you're not alone. But once you're just back with yourself and your thoughts, the loneliness comes back,
Mhm.
and there's nothing that you can do. And one simple thing is first to admit that there's something wrong with you.
Mhm.
Not that you're crazy, but just that there is something that you cannot understand.
Yeah.
There's something that's higher than you. Because if you don't recognize the problem, you're not going to
Not
be
gonna be
able
able
to
to fix
fix
it.
it.
Yep.
You see? So, this is why it was very important for us to talk about it because, like I said, it was really hard for me to even understand why I was feeling so much anger,
Mm.
why I was feeling so sad, why I was feeling so left out. I was acting up in school, and my mom always thought that I was just like a crazy child. But all this time in my mind, it was like, I'd rather do anything to have my mom's attention, even if it's bad.
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't about me acting up, but it was about me crying for help, like trying to get my mom's attention and be like, hey, there is something with me. There's something wrong with me that
Mhm.
I don't understand. And I hope you can understand and you can explain it to me. But I'm not blaming my mom because growing up in this culture, she didn't even also know what it was.
Yeah.
She didn't even know what was going on. I'm pretty sure she went through that as a child. I don't know. And she was not able to
Mhm.
identify it. So, how can she identify what's wrong with
Mhm.
me? You know?
Yeah.
So, it was pretty dramatic. And I basically had to learn on my own that something wasn't right. Thank God for when I started my coaching classes, that's when I realized that something was actually not quite right.
Mhm.
Like I was going through something that I couldn't understand.
Yep.
And when I started learning about mental health and all that, I was like, okay, maybe that's what I went
Yeah.
through.
Mm.
And now in my day-to-day life, when I feel like I'm going through something, I know what's going on and I try to tackle the subject in a different manner that I used to,
Yeah.
which actually gives you a better result than just like hiding your emotions
Mhm.
or hiding what's going on and being like, oh, why do I have to talk about me when there are people who live worse? No, everybody is equal. Everybody needs the same amount of attention. Everybody needs to take care of their mental health. It's not because your mental health is now worse than somebody else that you cannot take care of it.
Mhm.
Every little every little thing, like every single thing that you feel,
It counts.
you have to take it to account
Mhm.
because if you don't, you're not going to be able to fully function because there's always going to be this some type of emotion in the back of your mind or in the back of your heart that's going to be hard to process. So
Yeah.
this is why we really wanted to talk about it.
So I was really. I didn't want you. I didn't want to cut your story. I mean, not your story. I didn't want to cut what you were sharing really. And they are part of the experience that you shared that I personally feel um well I feel like I'm not gonna say I feel like because I actually went through um my worst part my worst phase that I went through as a teenager was depression. And then I would not say that my parents, I'm saying my parents are Africans too. I wouldn't say that they wouldn't care, but just as you mentioned, we know, we are aware of it because it's something that we actually learn about, and we actually thankfully know since we came up here, and then we study it. Because I don't think our parents they were actually introduced that kind of subject. Because my um from my experience, I would say my parents, they would just, kids listens, discipline, discipline, school, school, discipline, discipline. And then whenever whenever I was trying to introduce something as, you know, um related to mental health, meaning that, well, there are certain ways to talk to your child or your teenager. Because when you're a teenager, seriously, that's the part we have mixed feelings. As you said, we're growing into becoming an adult. And for me, being a teenager was my worst phase in my life. And again, parents, well, I would say mine because I don't want to talk in general, they were all contradictory. Everything that you will try to make them understand, they will say, no, you don't have any word to say. I won't say it's just because they don't care, but they just, and, it's just what they know. They know it's discipline. Whatever they say as a parent is right. But now, I'm not gonna say they're older. No, now because they're seeing another view now. They're seeing that, oh, I mean, and it's never too late. Now they're saying that, okay, there are certain ways to talk to children, and the same way I'm looking at them, I'm like, this, the way they were talking to me when I was 12, 14, they're not talking to my baby sister this way. And then as a joke, sometimes I would tell them, you see what I was telling you guys, like there are ways to talk to your child because you don't know what they're going through. Because that's the thing about my parent personally. They used to think that, well, their kids, they don't have any issue. But no, we go to school, we get bullied, we walk on the street, things happens on the street. We actually go through things that our parents doesn't know. They don't know. I mean, and we just don't want to talk about it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't know anything, we don't know nothing, or that was my issue with my parent, and that made me go through depression. But now, fortunately, they are understanding. There's still a little contradictory part, the little African, that sense of African parents and everything. But now I am a grown, I mean, I'm a woman now. So maybe it's because of my age, and um they're assuming that now we're more mature, so we know what we're talking about. And maybe that's, for me, that's the reason why they're taking into account the purpose of actually acknowledging mental health regarding children, teenagers, especially for teenagers. It's not an easy phase for teenagers. Like you went through, I'm gonna say, if I'm not mistaken, loneliness, and that pushed you into thinking about killing yourself. Listen, I had the same experience, and I felt that, oh, my parents don't love me. But at the end, you just like, oh well, they actually did, but it's just they're almost, they were actually, they could have lost us. What if we tried to kill ourselves and we then we died? We were just gonna die without them knowing that. Oh, or not, I'm not gonna say knowing, without them being aware of it, being aware of how mental health is important. And that's the whole purpose of it. Like some people I've had that conversation with, they're not trying to address the issue. I'm wondering why. And it's not even an issue. For me, it's something like any other topic. Let's go to the beach. Everyone's going to talk about the beaches, the nice beaches here in the United States or everyone around the world. So why can't we just address any issue regarding mental health the same way? There's no shame of it. Some people just
I
choose.
think
Go
it's
ahead.
because there's a stereotype around mental health, like we
Yeah,
said
that too.
earlier.
Hmm.
Because when we talk about mental health, people think about like going to a mental
Yeah,
institution
like you
or
mentally here,
something
like you
that,
just losing your mind. That's not the case.
you know, there are very simple ways. I wanted to say something before I say that. I wanted to say when you said that parent changes their tone when you become older, I would say it's probably it not probably it is definitely different from parents to
Yeah,
parents.
that's why
It
I didn't
depends
want to
on
talk in
the way,
general.
yeah, the way you explain the situation to your parents and the way they understand. Like, I'm not talking about my parents because eventually, when I grew up, I had that conversation with my mom and my
Mhm,
dad.
mhm,
And at this point, I can openly talk to my mom. And when she hurts my feelings, I'll let her know.
mhm,
And likewise. But I've been in touch with people in my family, like uncles and aunt or whatever,
mhm.
and we will be talking about a subject,
Yeah.
and I will give my insight or like give the
Your
way
point
I
of view?
feel about something.
Mhm.
Exactly. And they will be so upset
Oh,
knowing telling me that, oh, you are not allowed to talk when grown up speaks. And I'm like, I'm about to be 30. What do you
would you?
mean I'm not allowed to talk when grown up speaks?
Ay,
What do you mean? How old do you think I am? I don't know if because
and
people they see me with like a tiny body shape, they feel like I'm still 14 or
it's
something,
just
but it definitely did happen to me, like a family member
mhm.
telling me that, "Oh, you don't have a say here.
Yo.
You're not an
See, that's
adult."
the
And I'm
worst
like, "What do
thing.
you mean I'm not an adult?"
That's the worst thing. Telling someone that you don't have any place here. That's literally what the person
Yeah,
mean. Like you don't have
that
the
your words don't
it doesn't
matter.
count, That's the worst thing to tell to
Mhm.
someone. To say to someone.
Exactly. But I mean, I've always been a stubborn child, so I'll always be like,
No,
it doesn't
actually,
matter what you think. I'm gonna tell you my
yeah, I
mind.
don't want to cut you
I'm
off,
gonna
but
speak my
that's
mind.
not you being stubborn. That's just you being. For me, I would say just this you being honest to yourself.
Exactly. I
But
mean,
that's true though. They will actually think that you are the stubborn child, but
oh, definitely,
yeah,
especially in Africa, they
but
would definitely be like, "Oh,
I
you don't
know,
have a say
I
here.
know,
You don't have anything to say."
yeah,
But
yes,
all that just to say that there are a lot of when we were talking about people saying that being afraid of mental health because to them it implies you going to a mental institution. There are many ways to take care of your mental health.
yes,
There are so many
mhm,
ways. You can speak to a psychologist.
mhm,
You can do simple things in your life, like take care of yourself. Take a whole day for yourself, not doing anything. If you don't want to, you can also listen to music. You can take care of
yeah.
your
There's so
body.
many
For
things.
women, you can go treat yourself, like go get your nails done, your hair done,
Mhm.
go shopping. Like do something that's going to make you feel whole, that's going to make you feel yourself,
Yeah,
that's going to make you love being alive and appreciate everything that's around you in order for you to like work on your mental health. It's not just um going to a psychiatrist and get medication. That's not it,
that's not it.
because you can
Hmm.
be on a lot of medication and still not improve. There I see a lot of people doing meditation. I see a lot of people
You can do
doing
running.
workout,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
there is a lot of things that you can do to take care of your body and your mental health.
Hmm.
So people, we really want you to be aware of how important it is for
It's
you
the
to
awareness that
take care
counts.
of it,
Yes.
because it's a matter of like seconds for you to snap and then go to a point of no coming back.
Hmm. That is that is 100% true. And regarding what Wine said, these are simple ways for you to, of course, keep your mental health to, the level of happiness, just to be yourself. But do not use that to ignore any issue that you might have, if that makes sense. If you're aware of whatever is happening, first, if you're aware of whatever is happening, now you treat yourself. Don't just be like, nah, let me just go do this. Let me just go do this. And you're not taking care of, and you're not actually paying attention. If you have, I don't know what example I can actually take. If you have anxiety, or maybe, let me not talk about anxiety, I'm talking about depression because I went through this. You're going through depression, and then you can try to, I've tried without knowing that I had depression. I was going out having fun and so on, and I come back. I'm still, you still feel like, something. I need to do something, but I don't know what that is. So as long as you figure out what you have first, whatever needs to be fixed, as long as you figure this out, now you will continue with the process of healing yourself mentally. That's the whole purpose of mental health. Mm. Mental health is not mental illness, guys. Mental illness is
Yes,
something
make
else.
that clear again.
Yes, mental
Mental
illness.
health, it's something else.
Uh-huh.
Like Peach said, you actually have to be aware of what's going on with you first, because one day I was talking to this person and the person was going through grief,
Mhm.
and I was trying to explain to the person that you actually have to process that
Mhm.
in order for you to be mentally not stable, because you're not mentally unstable, but I'm going to say emotionally
Yeah, stable, yep.
stable, because grief is not something that you can just
Yo,
brush
you can
off.
just snap it
Because
off
when you
like
do
bam.
that, yeah, because when you do that, you actually making things worse. So I was trying to explain to that person, like, you have to go through grief, you have to grieve, you have to be able to express all your feelings, how you're feeling
That's
right now, because
true.
you
It
just
is
lost somebody
important.
important. And you have to understand that it goes with your mental, which means it can lead to mental health, to mental issues. So
Mhm.
you have to
Yep,
take care of that.
exactly.
And the person straight up told me that basically, why would that person care about what's going on with them
Mm.
when there are people going through worst? And I'm like, it's not
No,
about other people.
it's about
It
you,
is
man.
not about other people. It's about you. Other people would take care of their
Exactly.
mental
What
health.
do you care about
You
other
have to take
people?
care of
Other
yours.
people don't even know
Yes,
you. They don't even care
exactly.
about you. That
You like I feel what you say when when you say that maybe somebody's going through worst, but that doesn't make your pain less important.
yes, in the same way.
That doesn't make your problems less important.
Yes, we say. I think it's somewhere in the Bible. I don't know how it is saying in the Bible. Not even the verse. Bear with me, guys. But there's no big. Why, I want you to help me out here. But I know there's something that says there's no small or biggest sin. All the sins are the same.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
It doesn't matter if you killed or whatever you did. But of course there are levels, good and bad. But
Mm-hmm.
but to God it's a sin. The, if you're going through whatever you're going through, don't you even dare, for your own good, for your own, like, I don't want to say stable too, because I don't want people to think that is like, for your own good. Let's just use that word. Don't you ever think
Mm-hmm.
that you um worth less than other people because you think other people have bigger
Exactly.
issues.
That word that you used,
Yeah,
worth.
worthless. You know, you're right.
Don't ever think that you're worth less than somebody else.
Exactly.
Everybody is equal. If you're in a relationship, if you're in the friendship, if you're with your parents, everybody's mental health is important.
Yes.
Men,
Mm-hmm.
women, teenagers, kids. We're gonna have a lot of discussion
Yeah.
on this podcast about mental health.
Stay
We're gonna have
tuned.
a lot
Yep.
of people telling us what they think, what do they do to maintain their mental health. So please, guys, stay tuned
Yep.
because this series is going to be very important. We really want people to be aware of that
Yep.
and to not probably change the word, but at least to change one mind or two.
Mm-hmm. Also, we all aware that some people out there they know about it, but just help us share it again. Like, he needs to be addressed for real, especially
Exactly.
especially us in Africa, our people. We want,
Yeah, I know there's a lot of English speaking African countries,
yes.
so I hope this can actually reach a lot of
You say
people
hope it
from
will.
all backgrounds.
Yes, we're doing it for the best, so it will.
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
So I think for today, I'm saying it, guys. For today, we pretty much tried to cover our topic, and like I said earlier, we will be back where we will talk about it again, and we will specify um mental health. We will talk about it with men, with women, with teenagers, and we're also going to try to include children
Hmm.
and try to have an understanding of their little
Yep.
minds and see how they view the world, or the whole how they actually percept that. Now, we're not going to use mental health because they're kids, but we're going to try to make them understand
Hmm.
and try to understand their point of view and understand how they see things from their side. So
Yeah,
we hope you liked that episode and give us your thoughts on that.
definitely.
If
That's what I
Peach
was
want to
going
add
to say.
something else.
No, that's really true what I wanted to say. Give us your thoughts
Mhm.
on it in the comments. You guys know us. You can join us in Instagram, text us, DM us, whatever you may think that come into your mind. We will address it on the
Mhm.
next podcast.
Yep. Don't forget to subscribe, to like and share, guys. We're everywhere now. You can listen to us on Apple Podcast, on
Yes,
Spotify,
fellas.
on YouTube, on SoundCloud, on Anchor. So you don't have no reason to not listen to the
You
Peach and Wine
definitely don't
podcast,
have
guys.
no reasons. Just
So,
you ask, here you go.
and
Here's an episode now.
yeah. So until we see you next time, you guys have a wonderful one.
Have a good one,
Bye.
guys.